And welcome back to Páirc Uí Rinn for the second semi-final of the Cork Senior Football Championship. Douglas against Nemo Rangers. We're joined by Tony Lean, sports editor of the Irish Examiner. Brian is still here. I suppose, Brian, fair enough to say we'll be hoping for a bit more of a better spectacle than the opening semi-final.
Absolutely, Colin. I think this will be a very different type of game. I think, you know, as I said to you in the last game, when one team decides to go very, very defensive, it actually spoils the game. The other team sometimes mirror it and it ends up being a quagmire. I don't see Nemo or Douglas playing that type of game. I think both of them would be very confident that they have good forwards and they want to move the ball into their forward line very, very quickly. And I'm very, very, very excited to see what's going to transpire here, because I think some of the best players in Cork football are on show here in this game. Okay, we better point out, Tony, that you previously managed Douglas. We'll get that, I suppose, out of the way first and foremost. So you would know the majority of these lads out here?
Yeah, sure, we know them all, Colm, really. I suppose really what Douglas have been looking for is there was a group that has come through together, all of a similar age, the likes of the Shawnee Powters and the Shane Kingstons and these lads, and they've come through and from some way back, like, they've been signposted, not just because of their football, but because there was a strong bond there. And you'd know, Brian, one of Nemo's strengths, they always say, is you meet a Nemo fella in town on a Saturday night, he's got 4 more Nemo fellas with him. And I think that's a very important thing for Douglas. And I think to some degree Douglas has that now. They have a core group of players that I think gives them a very good platform, not just for today, but going forward. I mean, you look at that Douglas team, it's a very young team still. Like, I mean, there must be 6-7 players no more than 22 years of age. So yes, there's a positive future for Douglas, but for me the future is now. You know, you have a chance to get to a county final, their first one since 2008. It's less of a concern to me, I have to say, that it's against Nemo. I mean, I'm a blow-in. The Nemo-Douglas thing isn't that important.
We'll come back in a few moments and we'll talk about that. But first, we'll take a break for the national anthem. Yeah, we're just waiting on the national anthem to get underway here at Páirc Uí Rinn. Rain back again, thankfully not too heavy, passing shower as we had a little earlier. Just 2 changes on the Douglas team, and we have David Sheehan in at cornerback for Kevin Hayes-Curtin. Sam Collins replacing Brian Collins at corner forward. We'll just have a quick run through the teams for Nemo Rangers: Micheál A. Martin, Brian Murphy, Aidan O'Reilly, Alan Cronin. Half-back line: Kevin O'Donovan, Stephen Cronin, Jack Horgan, Alan O'Donovan, James McDermott, Luke Conley, Paul Kerrigan, Colin O'Brien, Mark Cronin, Barry O'Driscoll and Conor Horgan. Now the Douglas team: Brian Boyle, Kevin Hayes-Curtin, as we said, replaced by David Sheehan, Nathan Walsh, Luke McGrath, Sean Wilson, Owen Callaghan, Kevin Flahav, Brian Hartnett, Niall Hartnett, Sean Powter, David Hanrahan, Shane Kingston, James Holland, Conor Russell and Sam Collins That's how we are. Teams falling into positions very quickly. Tony, that point you were just making, just for the outsiders watching us today, not from Cork, explain that Nemo-Douglas rivalry in 30 seconds or less.
I don't think there can't be too many clubs who are geographically closer. If you were a really good golfer, Colm, I'd say it's a 3-wood from the Nemo to the Douglas facility, and there's a football rivalry there that really starts as low as under 8s or 10s and continues the whole way up. They haven't met that often at senior, but Douglas have yet to win one, and I think now would be a good day to break that duck. Okay,
well, as we're looking at it this afternoon, it's Nemo who are playing from left to right, Douglas forcing into a change of strip, and they are wearing the white with the green and black hoops this afternoon. So the lads are just going to take a quick look around and see any positional switches as we get underway with Mark Cronin, Cork under 20 All-Ireland winner this season with the free. Off his left should be an easy opening start for Nemo Rangers, and it's a fine kick from him right over Brian Boyle's crossbar, and the opening score of the afternoon going the way of the men of Nemo Rangers. And it looks like the goalkeeper for Douglas has been advised by the match officials that his jersey is clashing with the Nemo colours. So Brian Boyle has been forced to put on an orange training bib before he gets play underway. But the first kick out of this, the second semi-final of the Cork Senior Football Championship. Duhallow victorious in the opening game this afternoon with the victory over Newcestown, and who will be facing them in the final in 2 weeks' time. Nice little kick out by the goalkeeper, finds a man, but referee deciding that there was a foul play there. David Hanrahan is the man who's holding on to the ball there, opts to go all the way back to his goalkeeper Brian Boyle, and Hanrahan, a man who's a bit of county experience, and Brian Boyle, the goalkeeper, finding himself 50 yards from home, but all importantly delivers a good pass to Sean Powder. What an exciting talent Powder is. Nice ball in by him to the full forward in as far as Conor Russell brought to ground. Referee allowing the play on. Hartnett, and that's Brian wearing number 8. Great ball in by him to Shane Kingston. Kingston ducking and diving one way, then the left punches right over the crossbar, and that's a fine score by Douglas.
Yeah, and I think the feature of Douglas's play so far in the championship has been the midfield partnership of the Hartnett brothers, and Brian Hartnett there, like he did with the Cork under 20s this year. He's a brilliant foot passer of the ball, great ball inside, and a great finish by Shane Kingston, who to me is nearly a better footballer than a hurler.
And great decision makers as well, Brian. That's the one thing I can't get over about those two young Hartnett. You got to remember, one is only 20 and one is 18. Niall's debut was in the quarter-final column against Ballincollig. They have unbelievable maturity on the ball. You'll watch that. They rarely waste a ball. Just on Shane Kingston, Brian is right. Actually, even though he's lined out at wing forward, he's actually gone straight in on top. He's on Aidan O'Reilly inside, and I think that's to give that Douglas attack that extra bit of potency inside.
Okay, well, very free-flowing start to this second semi-final after the action in the opening semi-final. We've had plenty of excitement so far, and it's Nemo that are on the attack there with Paul Kerrigan, one of their marquee names. Is Kerrigan back out as far as Sean, or Luke Connolly, should I say, and Connolly off the right, and that is a fantastic effort by Luke Connolly. A fantastic score by Connolly from out on the sideline, about 35 yards out.
Yeah, just that they've settled down now, Colm. I think if Douglas are going to prevail today, their matchups defensively against Nemo's attacks are going to be key. And how Douglas have lined up at the moment, Nathan Walsh is picking up Luke Connolly, Owen Cadigan is picking up Paul Kerrigan, Sean Wilson is picking up Colin O'Brien, and it is, I mentioned as well, Nathan has got Luke Connolly. So they are going to be key matchups because Nemo will fancy themselves to put up a score, and the Douglas defence has to get that right.
Yeah, and on that one, Tony, I think maybe Kevin Flahive on Luke might be something we might see at some stage here in the game.
Okay, well, it's 1 point to Douglas, 2 points to Nemo Rangers. 4 minutes elapsed in this semi-final. A rainbow forming in the background here over Páirc Uí Rinn. Who will be finding gold and who will be finding a place in the Cork Senior final at the end of the 60 minutes of the action here this afternoon? Jack Horgan, they're pressed hugely in the last outing against the Bars, out as far as Luke Conley. Conley dinky pass back as far as Horgan. Horgan onto his left hand side, skews off the boot though, and that one has gone wide, the first wide of the afternoon, and Brian Boyle resuming play with the kick out, and it's been fast and it's been furious in the opening few moments of the game.
Yeah, Luke McGrath is picking up Mark Cronin. Mark Cronin for me was a key danger man in the quarter-final column, and that's a big job for Luke McGrath today. I mean, look, things may change. I mean, as Brian said, at the moment Kevin Flahav is picking up Barry O'Driscoll. The one thing Douglas have is they are not short of defensive options in terms of inter-county talent. It's at the top end of the field, I think, that they'll have the questions to answer.
Okay, great ball out by the goalkeeper. Cadigan dispossessed superbly though by Barry O'Driscoll. Barry O'Driscoll, the captain from Nemo, big high one there. I don't think he had meant that. It's hanging in the air. Conley getting his hands on it, but it's well claimed by the full back there, Nathan Walsh. Classy operator is Walsh. He's got a bit of trouble. He's in his way from Mark Cronin, but manages to get it out as far as the midfielder there. That's Brian Hartnett, one of the two brothers, Brian and Niall, at midfield for Douglas this afternoon. And this is your typical city derby, as Douglas coming through with Hartnett. Hartnett offloads it out, but goes to ground. But back into his hands there, and that's Conor Russell with the effort in the end. And that one, a well-mined score. It looked like it was a great move as Hartnett had burst through. Ball kind of stumbled out of Russell's hands, but managed to regain it and kick it over. And that was a huge score for Douglas, and it draws them level, 2 points apiece after 6 minutes.
You'd wonder if the Hartnett boys at midfield, they're so young and mobile, will they cause Nemo problems there? Because to be fair to Nemo, they were very strong in midfield in the quarter-final against the Bars. So it's going to be a very good battle there.
Yeah, very different conditions though as well too. We better mention that clash against the Bars 2 weeks ago. Horrific weather conditions. How the game actually went ahead was a credit to the teams, the match officials, and indeed the ground staff here in Páirc Uí Rinn. But the sun shining here at the moment in Páirc Uí Rinn, and thankfully the showers have passed, and conditions slightly sippy, but they're still playing great football here with Aidan O'Reilly, the fullback. O'Reilly, an effort from him, drops it wide, and that's I think 2 in a row anyway in terms of wides from a Nemo perspective. Luke Conley a few moments ago with one, but talk about night and day in terms of the two semi-finals that we've witnessed.
Yeah, I think both teams are backing their forwards to actually get them over the line here, so the game is going to be quite open, which is going to be very entertaining. And in contrast to the last game, an absolute night and day job. Okay, well, great pair of hands there by Niall Hartnett at midfield to kind of juggle it around, and has kick-started another attack for Douglas, racing down here on the outside. Good interplay there. The ball has ended up back as far as Shawnee Powter, and a great shot by Powter, and that was a fantastic score by a man that's well known to GA fans, has had his share of trauma and turmoils with injuries throughout his career, but when he's fit, well, I think you can see just there what exactly he brings to the party. Yeah, and again, it's Niall Hartnett is causing a bit of trouble in midfield. He seems to have a kind of a language style, very well able to cover ground, and it looks to be at his ease at the moment. He started very well.
Micheál A. Martin resuming play with a fine big cutout. Canoli managed to get it as far as one of the Hartnetts. That was Brian. He punches it down, and it's back into a Nemo set of hands, and that belongs to Steve Cronin. There's a couple of different players moving off there, and now it's with Shane Kingston. Still Kingston being punneled through, and still Kingston, and out comes the goalkeeper, flicks it up there, and Kingston unlucky that he didn't at least get a free for his troubles there, but Nemo cleared the danger and now start on attack. And just off the ball there, a clash between two players there, and referee's attention is certainly going to be called back to it. It looks to be the corner forward, James Holland seems to be in the thick of it. I'm not sure who the defender, Alan Cronin, the cornerback wearing number 4 for Douglas. Two of them getting to grips with another. Referee Johnny Ryan being called over by his sideline official, and we will see some action here.
Yeah, I think Alan Cronin was trying to get out past James Holland, and when James Holland blocked him illegally, I think Alan Cronin might have overreacted. I think in fairness, John, the referee will just tell the two lads to calm down. I mean, there's going to be early exchanges. Just on those marking assignments, lads, I just noticed, I think what Douglas started with was a bit of a what would we call that one, Brian? a bit of a false one, because in fairness they've now got matchups which I think actually look an awful lot better. Owen Cadigan has picked up Luke Connolly, Kevin Flahav has now picked up Paul Kerrigan, and I think probably they're good matchups. Certainly they're as good a matchup as Douglas could possibly have against that type of forward line. One thing off Nemo's kickouts, Brian, if you keep an eye, at the moment Douglas are doing well on the kickouts, but if you look, they have a serious mismatch. They have Jack Horgan available on Sam Collins, and Jack Horgan is a foot over Sam Collins, so you'd be thinking Micheál Martin, if he spots that, and if Jack Horgan is getting in some kind of space, is going to be an option for Nemo.
Sam Collins is, after getting his name into the book, as has Alan Cronin. Play resumes with a throw ball which Nemo have recaptured and recycled and are pouring out here with Alan O'Donovan, one of the changes from the team, the starting team that defeated the Bars last time out, replacing Peter Morgan at midfield alongside James McDermott. It's a free now to Douglas right on the 45-yard line literally, and Conor Russell is the man that's going to come out and fancy his chances. 3 points Douglas have on the board, Nemo have 2 points, just gone 10 minutes, and wow, those 10 minutes have flown by in this, the second of the semi-finals of the Cork Senior Football Championship, being brought to you here on the Irish Examiner's Facebook Live account in association with the Cork County Board. This game of course being a deferred broadcast this afternoon, and there goes the kick from Russell. Great pair of hands by the goalkeeper, bringing it down right under his crossbar and clearing the danger, and it's out as far as James McDermott from Roscommon. He playing it back to Jack Horgan, the wing back in through the central area, and they're going to build right down through the central spine again. Here come Nemo right on the midfield. It's with the wing back there, Kevin O'Donovan, out as far as he's wing forward. Luke Conley, great ball by Conley, finds its way into the corner forward. Conor Horgan, still Horgan in around the sideline, still Horgan, defender doing well over. Great ball across, fumbled by the full forward O'Driscoll, and that was a huge let off there as O'Driscoll dropped the ball to the ground and then touched the ball, and it's a free out, but a massive let off.
Like the quarter final, Nemo have no problem leaving Conor Horgan up on his own. Again, he was actually 2-on-1 there, and he still managed to win the ball and create danger. So it is something that they're very comfortable doing, and you see there Paul Kerrigan in the last play, he dropped very, very deep, and I'd say he could do that a bit to move on Cadigan around. Risky
kick out there by the goalkeeper, managed to get to Niall Hartnett, and what an operator this lad is. Look at the way he's swallowing up the ground in as far as he's wing forward. That was Shawnee Powter to David Hanrahan, just over 45 yards, lovely ball in by Hanrahan in as far as his corner forward bounces off his chest, and it'll work its way back to James McDermott, and McDermott beating James Holland to the ball there, and Nemo have, and it's back with Alan Cronin. Cronin, very capable, solid operator, through the hands, through the cornerbacks. Brian Murphy bringing him into play, and it's back now with Barry O'Driscoll, the man who had the goal chance a few moments ago. Alan O'Donovan now on the ball. Alan O'Donovan, 45 yards out, still O'Donovan. Runner inside him is Paul Kerrigan. Kerrigan has pace. Kerrigan is now going for goal. Kerrigan, great save! What a save by the goalkeeper, Brian Boyle, and that was a huge let off there. Once more, Douglas living dangerously.
Yeah, and you see, unfortunately, you cannot allow Paul Kerrigan to be coming off your shoulder. You cannot allow a player of Kerrigan's pace to actually come at you off the blind side. And in fairness, like, he did well there, but Brian Boyle stood up very well. I mean, what Brian Boyle, I don't know what age Brian Boyle is. He tells me he's about 34 or 5. I don't know what he is, but I tell you, his shot-stopping ability is as good now as it has been ever before. So, but a big let-off and a big lesson, a cheap lesson.
But on that one, Tony, it seems to me that, even though Douglas probably have their matchups made there, as you just mentioned a while ago, they seem to lose their men very, very easy. That time David Sheehan was actually the man picking up Paul Kerrigan.
That is my point.
Like, if you're man-marking somebody like Paul Kerrigan, you have to actually man-mark him.
And that's why you've got to keep Paul Kerrigan honest, Brian. Like, so Kevin Flahav, if he's on him, he's got to go with him. Every run he makes, he's got to go with him.
He just seemed to let him to somebody else there, but if you're a designated man-marker, you have to actually stay with him.
Anyway, the end result of all of that is converted 45 from Luke Conley. Great reflexes by Boyle to deny Kerrigan with a buster of a shot. The odds were very much in the forwards' favour, but that score has brought it 3 points apiece. The game is tied with 14 minutes elapsed of this Cork Senior Football Championship semi-final. Douglas 3 points, Nemo Rangers 3 points, and it's Nemo Rangers who have the ball in around the middle of the field, and they're going route one fast and furious as quickly as possible in as far as the man wearing number 13. That's young Mark Cronin off his left, and that one though has gone wide, and another let off there for Douglas. That's about 3 or 4 wides that Nemo have had over the last 15 minutes or thereabouts, and Boyle with the kick out there. But as the lad said, the two big men at midfield, Brian and Niall Hartnett, powerful operators once they get their hands on the ball, and you can expect Alan O'Donovan and James McDermott to have their work cut out as the evening progresses here. And what a crowd coming in for this semi-final here of the Cork Senior Football Championships. The winner progressing to face Nemo or Duhallow even in the final in 2 weeks' time. Anyway, we're back with the action here in front of us, in front of the stand, and it's Shane Kingston. Nice ball in by Kingston, and it's worked its way back to Kevin Flahav. Flahav looking back as far as Kingston. Kingston loses possession, and it's McDermott who hoovers up, cleans up the mess, and restarts and recycles and has Nemo on their way again. Great ball in as far as the corner forward there, Conor Horgan. Horgan, ball into the other corner forward, Cronin back to Horgan. Horgan 21 yards, Horgan 14 yards, Horgan shot, Horgan off the post, and it somehow managed to clear to safety by Douglas, and that was another glorious goal opportunity for the men from Nemo Rangers. But here come Douglas now with Brian Hartnett gobbling up the ground, out to his brother Niall Hartnett. Niall has Brian on the outside if he wishes, but oversteps, and it's going to be a free out there to Douglas.
Yeah, this is a sticky 5 minutes now, Colm, for Douglas. I mean, they need to ride it out. I mean, Brian made the point earlier about honesty of defenders. I mean, Kevin Flahav will do plenty of good work today, but I would imagine his manager Mick Evans wouldn't mind if Kevin Flahav never touched the ball for the remaining 50 minutes of the game if he kept Paul Kerrigan quiet. Nemo are also troubling Douglas on Brian Boyle's kickouts. Brian Boyle is finding it hard to actually pick someone out at the moment. So at this moment, even though it's 3 points all on the scoreboard, I would definitely say it's Nemo are edging it.
Yeah, Stephen Cronin doing great work in getting the ball up to about 40 yards. Colin Tucker O'Brien pumping it in towards his centre forward Paul Kerrigan. Too much pace in the ball goes out, gone dead, and that's another let off from a Douglas perspective. But like we've just seen in the last few minutes, 3 potential goal chances for Nemo Rangers, Barry O'Driscoll. Then we had that Luke Conley effort, or the Paul Kerrigan effort, and then a few moments ago we had that ball hitting off the butt of the post. Well claimed there in the middle of the field by James McDermott, but he's quick free, a bit too pacey, and it's Douglas who have it here in front of us. Question is now, are they going to work their way backwards with it? And it's Kevin Flahav who opts to go back as far as David Sheehan, and Douglas going to build back with Flahav now in front of us again. Here comes Kevin Flahav back to Hartnett. Going around the centre. He's got a runner now in front of him. Will he take it into the other Hartnett that's gone in ahead? That's being Niall. No, instead he's going to work his way, and that being Sam Collins, work his way up as far as the 45-yard line where he's fouled, and it's going to be a free from Brian Hartnett. It's going to take this one. An electric 17 minutes of action here in this Senior Football Championship clash. Good ball by Hartnett into the full forward there, and that's Conor Russell, and Russell's effort as he's falling, and that one has gone to the right and gone wide. Goalkeeper Micheál A. Martin with the restart.
Yeah, I think it's the column, the less lights of Nemo's attack are actually causing more problems than anyone else in the game at the moment. The Conor Horgans, they seem to be losing their men very, very easily, and there seem to be very fluid up there between Conor Horgan and Mark Cronin especially. Down the other end, it just seems in the last 3 or 4 minutes, it just seems to be a bit slower for Douglas at the moment. They need to speed up a small bit and get themselves back in the game.
And they need to get Shawnee Powter more in the game, Brian. In fairness, Shawnee Powter's playing at centre forward. He's been marked by Stephen Cronin. I genuinely think that Powter is a better player facing the ball, but I mean, needs must, he's at centre forward, and if whatever Douglas are going to do in terms of something at the top end of the field, they're going to need Powter getting on ball. It's as simple as that.
Horgan does very well to keep the ball in play, but it's only found this way as far as Douglas player, and they've worked it back to the goalkeeper Brian Boyle. Boyle opts to go short and puts his own defender looks to be David Sheehan under pressure there, but Nemo attacker fouls him, and that's going to be a Douglas free kick just outside their 21-yard line. 19 minutes gone in this game, 3 points apiece. There's Owen Cadigan. And Cadigan taking too much out of it, but somehow manages to keep it back in. Sam Collins now, some nice play here by Douglas. There goes Niall Hartnett, still Hartnett past the 45, Hartnett on the 21, Hartnett shot but drops it straight into the goalkeepers. Didn't back himself in the end, and very easy there for Micheál Mark now as far as Brian Murphy to James McDermott at midfield. Wing back there is Jack Horgan. Horgan wants to be careful here as a man chasing up behind him, but has Brian Murphy helping in support. There's Brian Murphy carrying at about 15-20 yards. Nice little ball, short pass there to Paul Kerrigan. Kerrigan opts to go right out as far to the far side, out as far as Colin Tucker O'Brien. There's O'Brien, still O'Brien, holding off the defender, and that's Sean Wilson. And Nemo happy to hold it up. Look for the opening that's coming from Kevin O'Donovan, and O'Donovan off his right, a big high effort, and that one has gone over the bar. A bit of a hit and hope perhaps by your wing back, but they all count.
No, he's a very, very good player, and in fairness to me, he played very well against the Bars last day as well. And to get forward there now and score that, his man is going to be minding him for a while.
Kerrigan takes a nice ball across as far as Horgan. Here he comes right across the front of the goal, and there's Paul Kerrigan. Simple finish in by Kerrigan, punched it in. It was coming. Nice direct ball in as far as Colin Horgan. Horgan held it up, could have gone himself, but instead opted to punch across the square, and there was Paul Kerrigan waiting patiently to just tap it home. And as I said, that one was coming. It's pushed it out to Nemo, 1-4 to Douglas's 3 points with 20 minutes elapsed.
Yeah, it's vital now that Douglas try and get the next score, but Nemo are just completely dominating at the moment. They could be in for another goal here.
More danger here for Douglas, since the ball is with Mark Cronin. Cronin off his left, and that one has gone straight between the posts, and that has added another score. 1-5.
It's all Nemo at the moment, but it's the kick out is actually killing Douglas. You said a while ago, Tony. It's they just cannot get their hands on the ball.
No, and as well as that, and this happened in the quarter final, Brian, last year when Douglas were beaten by St Finbarrs, where they had a dreadful 15 or 20 minutes at the start of the game, and the game was all over, and they've just lost that shape now again. They're after conceding 1-2 there. I mean, when Kevin O'Donovan got that point a few minutes ago, like Owen Cadigan and the lads should be pulling them there now together and actually say, right, let's get our shape back, because Brian pointed out earlier, like, they're not actually, I know they look as if they're playing man to man, but they're not actually going, they're not being honest at the moment and going man to man. They're obviously not. If you have that situation where Conor Horgan is clean through and he can put the ball across to an isolated Paul Kerrigan, that means that somebody has just busted their assignment and not done it right.
Just looking, given the height advantage that the Hartnett seem to have at midfield, like, why aren't Douglas going Route 1, along?
Well, they have an advantage. I wouldn't say it's a height. I mean, in fairness, McDermott and Alan O'Donovan are two big, strong, physically mature individuals. You got to remember the Hartnetts are still like 20 and under, so it's asking a lot of them.
And I'd also say, Tony, though, that there might be an obsession, it seems to me, at the moment on the kick out to actually retaining possession. I know it's all very important to keep possession, but if you're under pressure on short kick outs, it's absolutely vital that you have other options down the field. But at the moment, Douglas don't seem to have options that wing forward, kick long, or even beyond midfield. Just doesn't seem to be happening. Of
more concern there for Douglas is Sean Wilson. He's down receiving some bit of treatment. Luke McGrath, apologies. Not sure it might. No, it is Owen Cadigan. Sorry, it is Owen Cadigan who was down there. We were unsure there, getting some running repairs there, but he's back on his feet, and that'll be a relief to all from the Douglas camp. Works it out as far as David Hanrahan. Hanrahan, nice ball in towards the corner forward position, bounces back out. Sam Collins couldn't connect with it, but the Douglas man Alan O'Donovan adjudged to have touched the ball on the ground, and it means that Brian Hartnett and Douglas now have the ball, and they have a free just outside the 45-yard line, opting to go nice short with it as far as Sean Wilson and a little interplay there out as far as Shawnee Powter, going back as far as Niall Hartnett. Hartnett has Owen Cadigan for support if he wants him. Instead finds itself back to Cadigan. Cadigan looking for the inch perfect pass, and he delivers it perfectly into the full forward, and again the finish though from Barry from Conor Russell was poor, didn't connect properly, and it rolls ever so easily into the goalkeeper's arms, and Nemo Rangers will have the free out here. But that's the second or third time, Tony, that we've had an opportunity like that and not converted.
Yeah, quicker hands there from Conor Russell, and he could have slipped in Sean Wilson, who'd make an overlap. The problem up front, Colm, for Douglas at the moment is it's all being played in front of Nemo. It's all very comfortable for them. They have a line basically 35-40 yards out from goal, and when Douglas have the ball, they're looking up. There's very few options, there's very few moving options in terms of lateral movement and lateral runs inside to keep those Nemo defenders honest. So I just think that Douglas need to probably challenge the Nemo defence, make them work harder.
Yeah, and on that one, I think, look, if you look down, you say Douglas are playing two inside, right? You're much better off, I think, if against this Nemo team, of actually making them play with three full backs, not allowing one of their cornerbacks to come out here and play loose. And if you play three inside, then maybe your opportunity of putting the ball inside a bit quicker, and when you look up over that line, you might have one more option, which is actually absolutely vital. But at the moment, where Douglas are playing into Nemo's hands with their shape.
Luke Connolly and Owen Callaghan having a bit of a collision there, completely accidental, but Callaghan shaking his start. Great ball in by Carrigan, and as far as the full forward, just a great save by the goalkeeper. Boyle getting out, saving well with his feet, but that is yet another let off for Douglas, and they are the year of living dangerously, the 10-minute spell of living dangerously. 25 minutes elapsed. It's Nemo 1 goal and 5 points, Douglas 3 points, and it is another free being awarded to Nemo Rangers. It was a high ball in by Kerrigan, and Barry O'Driscoll had all the time in the world, but Boyle, to his credit, did very well, came out quickly and saved with his feet. So it's free there. Luke Connolly is the man standing over it, 21 yards out. Just on the left hand side, slight bit of a breeze, just to mention, which would be in favour of Nemo, the team playing from left to right this evening. And we would fancy Connolly on this occasion to extend his side's lead out to 1-6 to 3 points, and does exactly that, drills it right over the crossbar. Fine score by him, bang on 26 minutes of this Senior Football Championship semi-final here at Páirc Uí Rinn this evening. The voices alongside me here are that of Irish Examiner sports editor Tony Lean, and we have Brian Cuthbert as well, and Brian has been with us throughout the afternoon with the opening semi-final, which saw victory for Duhallow against Newcestown. So who will be facing Duhallow in that final? Well, we'll know in about 35-40 minutes time, but as things stand, Douglas are edging closer and closer to a return to the showpiece of Cork senior football, as they lead here 1 goal and 6 points to 3 points. Referee not happy with some wordage down there, and it looks like the free that was awarded to Nemo just beyond 45 yards has been brought in to the 21-yard line from a similar position where Luke Connolly converted a few moments ago, and it just seems that things going from bad to worse.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the second free now that's been the cornerbacks have been caught for holding inside when there was under absolutely no pressure whatsoever. But I think go back to kick out again. If you watch Douglas's 11, David Hanrahan, he's pushing himself in beyond his midfield, more close to his own goal, trying to be an option as well. They're just bringing Nemo on top of them when they need to actually just settle the game down and try and get onto a ball that can be won easy enough. But I think they're actually overcomplicating things at the moment, Douglas, on their own kick out.
Okay, Nemo pushing it out there, and Luke Connolly pushing it out there to 1 goal and 7 points to 3 points against Douglas. 27.5 minutes elapsed. We'll watch this kick out with interest. Very, very lucky boy there that they've managed to get it back to Owen Callaghan, as Luke Connolly's hand there came across, and that could have been curtains if he had made a clean catch on that one. Anyway, we're back with Niall Hart in the midfield, back to his brother Brian, 65 yards out from the danger area. Still Hartnett looking around for an option here, and there's that man that we mentioned, Shawnee Powter. We haven't heard his name too often, and that is something that Douglas will desperately need to change if they're going to find a way back into this game. Well, not with a pass like that from him, as goes directly to a Nemo player, kept in play by Connolly. Out comes the defender there on that occasion. It was David Sheehan bravely winning the battle there, and Douglas have the ball here, 65 yards out. Options inside, waiting patiently. We're going to go route one, and we're going to pump it right across there to the corner forward. That's James Holland. Holland off his left, and that's a fine score. And that's a score, Tony, that Douglas badly needed.
They did, but again, it's exactly what myself and Brian were talking about, like an actual making, like stretching Nemo a small bit, you know, making those lateral runs from right to left as James Holland did on this occasion, you know. So that's basically, like, they have to ask questions of Nemo. I just don't think at this moment Douglas are asking enough questions at either end of the field of Nemo.
Yeah, and I think that they might be better off bringing the Shane Kingston's of this world into centre forward and actually getting a fulcrum in around the middle there, because David Hanlon is working very hard. He seems to be working more in his own half than actually getting forward. And at this stage, Douglas need to get scores.
Brian Murphy is the man over on the far side there, the cornerback, and back come Nemo, 45 yards out, well worked through the hands here, and it's coming through right through the centre, option on here, a shot, and back into the bottom corner. Alan O'Donovan, I think, was the man that struck it at the end, the midfielder, but just like the Red Sea, the Douglas defence parted in front of him, and the midfielder slalomed it into the bottom corner of Brian Boyle's net, and that now makes it 2-7 to 4 points with 29 and a half minutes elapsed in the first half.
Yeah, Alan O'Donovan that time, he was actually being picked up by David Hanlon, would you believe, the centre forward, and he just had too much gas for him and ended up, the defence backing off, and actually the defenders made up his mind from that he could actually shoot at the end. It's a terrible play from Douglas, you must say.
Had all the hallmarks of Owen Merchant's goal against Kerry in the All-Ireland semi-final, or the final replay at Croke Park just about a month ago. Now, this is going to be a serious gut check for Douglas. What can they manufacture now, even just before half-time? Can they get a score? And that is an effort there from Brian Hartnett. That one has gone right and wide, and another wide there on the tally for Douglas.
I didn't actually hear, Colin, what the amount of injury time was, Brian, but Douglas badly need half time now to settle down. Like, that's not a coincidence when you have what Alan O'Donovan just did, basically going straight through the middle. Like, that's happened now for me just too many times in the first half, and that's suggesting to me that systematically and in terms of individually, Douglas are just not operating where they need to be without the ball. And you spend so much of your time in a game like this without the ball, you've got to make the opposition earn the scores, and I'm sorry, it's just coming a little too easy for Nemo at the moment.
Organ there having the shot there off the side netting, giving David Sheehan twisted blood the way he was turning left and right there, but the final shot into the side netting, a let off, but again just an indication of how threatening are once Nemo get inside that 21 yard line area. It's inevitably going to end up either as a score or a save. They're going to make you work hard to defend it anyway, as opposed to dropping a short into the goalkeeper's arm. It's David Sheehan there, Hartnett back out to his brother Brian. Good crossfield ball all the way out as far as Jamie Holland scored that fine point a few moments ago. Now to wing forward Johnny Powter. Powter off his right, half blocked though. It's hanging up and drops into the waiting defender there, sitting in splendid isolation out as far as Jack Horgan in front of us here in the stand. Man that played a lot of his football at midfield, but is now recalibrated at wing back, and an impressive operator he is. 2 goals and 7 points it is to 4 points. So we had been talking about the first game and the lack of action in that, particularly in the second half. More than enough in the opening 30 minutes there. Sum it up.
I think, to be honest, I think huge pressure on Douglas's kick out has led to mistakes. Those mistakes obviously have led to scores, and then I think that Douglas have just gone into some sort of a shell. They've just fell apart in ways that you can see there now. The confidence is drained out of them. And typical Nemo, once they got on top of them, they just drove it on. Now, I have to say some of the scores that Douglas handed them were just too easy at this level of county semi-final. And it's going to be very, very difficult for Douglas to get themselves back in the game even. I don't mind to go and win it, because you just saw there in that last attack, Paul Kerrigan and Luke Conley were actually back in their own defence. So they'll close it down. They're 3 goals up. They'll close the game down now and just bring on the game.
A phrase that Brian mentioned there was that Douglas went back into their shell, Tony, after 10-15 minutes. Was it a case that they went back of their own free will, or were they put back in their shell?
Well, you would think once you get to the semi-final of a county championship at senior level, I mean, the difference, Colin, a lot of people will tell you between senior and other grades is that players think and move faster. And it just looks to me at the moment that Douglas are not thinking as quickly as the Nemo players. Now, Nemo players, by their tradition and habit, like, they're on the move constantly, they're thinking, they're running off your shoulder. What they've added to the mix today, and Brian mentioned it there, is they've actually spooked the Douglas kick-out. I mean, I would have thought Douglas would have fancied themselves to spook Micheál Martin's kick-out, but that actually hasn't been the case. The issue has been at the other end of the field, and it's no fault of Brian Boyle, by the way. You look at the scoreboard now and consider what it might have been, only that he made it is a 2 or 3 point blank saves he made.
3 saves.
You know, I mean, it could actually be out of sight at this stage. I really think half-time was badly needed by Douglas at the moment. I just think some of the smaller things that you do in a game, some of the things that you do off the ball, in terms of shape, in terms of keeping the opposition honest, and in terms of thinking quickly, I just don't think Douglas are doing that. Whereas Nemo are on their game, they're here to play, they're here to get to a county final, and that's why they're as far ahead as they are.
Fair to say, though, Brian, we saw Nemo here against the Bars. Now, admittedly, it was a terrible night, but they still look to be 20-25% even improved than that performance today.
Yeah, I think that win gave them huge confidence because, as we said after that game, that was a massive game for this Nemo team to beat the Bars, who were county champions, you know, and the way they did it, and they were extremely clever and extremely manly at the same time, and aggressive. Today, I would have felt coming into the game that this Nemo team didn't want to be the first Nemo team to lose to Douglas. They seemed to be a bit more up for it, to be honest about it. And they're very sharp in their movement up front especially. But I think Douglas have played into their hands by trying to be too precise on the kick out. Again, not Brian's fault, but they just seem to be too precise, where you have 2 6'4" guys or 6'3" guys out around the middle. Take your chances if it's not working after 1 or 2. But they've persisted with this short kick out that's not getting them possession. They're much more dangerous when the ball is kicked out and they win the break and they can break off that, because you have the Sean Bowders of the world, who are very quick when the ball is put in front of them. But this precise game plays into Nemo's hand, because Nemo will snuff you out. They'll find a way of getting the ball back off you, and when you're out of position and when you don't have the man markers on the particular guys, then as we saw, they just open you up and they score.
Okay, it's a massive ask for Douglas, Tony. The fact that it is Nemo, the fact that they have all that historic baggage, does that make it even tougher again?
Well, Brian made the point there, like, about Nemo and Douglas. Like, you'd actually think that Nemo were the hunter and that Douglas were the hunted, the way that actually played out in the first half.
It is, Tony, because I would say that the Nemo psyche, and I've seen this for a long time, they're not going to relinquish anything to any club in the city, anything to Douglas or the Bars or to Bishopstown or anyone else.
Yeah, but you've got to match that, Brian. You can't just give them that. You can't say to them, okay lads, you're the ones I know you don't want to lose to us, you don't want to be the first Nemo team to lose to Douglas, but then I'm sorry, you can't just give them that you've actually got to almost rob that motivation off them. And
you have to turn it on its head. It has to become a pressure on them.
Yes.
But at the moment it's not.
No.
It's something they're relishing.
Yeah.
They're actually, you can see it on the line, you can see Billy's riled up, you can see Paul Donovan.
Yeah.
Every time the ball's going to the back of the net, they're jumping up and down and saying, give them more, and they'll give plenty more.
You can simplify. I was going to say, we can complicate this about hunted and hunters and all that kind of stuff. Like, let's boil it right down. The bottom line is, at the moment, is that Nemo are performing at 8.5 out of 10. Douglas are performing at about 5, if they're lucky, out of 10. Too many people around the pitch, apart from the goalkeeper who's made 3-point blank saves, are just not at the pitch of the game. Now, you can be just making all the guesses you want as to why that's the case. Is it up here? Is it physically? Is it football? Whatever it is. But the bottom line at the moment is that Nemo are thinking and acting way quicker, and I don't think that Douglas are challenging them football-wise or psychologically enough.
Okay, well, 30 odd minutes to come here in Páirc Uí Rinn in the second half of this Cork Senior Football Championship. It's Nemo who have all the aces at the moment, but there's hopefully a few more cards to be played. We'll be back for the second half in a few minutes' time.
Keith, how are you, boy?
Welcome back to the second half of the action here in Páirc Uí Rinn. About to get underway in a few moments' time. It's semi-final. The scoreboard telling its own story. Douglas 4 points, Nemo Rangers 2 goals and 7. Despite that, you're not without hope, Tony?
It's a stretch, Colm. In 2015, if you really want to dig into the archives, Douglas were in the replay of that. We were 8 down actually at half time. It was 1-8 to 3 points, and I think with about 10 minutes to go we had it back to a point, and it was a titanic effort to get there, and we just ran out of legs. But it's going to take something of that ilk to get Douglas into the game. But at this stage, if you were looking for any positive, it's the fact, Brian, that they have to go for it now. They've nothing to lose now. You know, they have to. I know you could end up taking a tanking, but at this stage they've got to challenge Nemo. You know what I mean? They've got to ask questions. If they go off that field at the end of the game and they haven't laid a glove on Nemo, they're not going to feel great about themselves.
Yeah, I think psychologically they have nothing to lose. But I look at it here now. Shawnee Powder's gone in centre forward, so I see that as a signal straight away that they're going after the game. They're trying to get them involved as much as they can. But they need a couple of goals, obviously, and they need a goal early.
Okay, well, off we are under the direction of Johnny Ryan from Macroom, our match referee this afternoon. That was Jack Horgan there in front of us. And the first attempt there by Douglas falling short and just met with a wave of Nemo players. And it's just one of those days for Nemo there, like the ball flies over one set of hands, but there's another man waiting behind it, whereas if that was Douglas, it would have ended up falling into opposition territory. Stephen Cronin out to McDermott, man from Roscommon, doctor in CUH. When he came to Nemo Rangers last year, some addition to them at centre field, impressed hugely in the victory against the Bars last time out, and has been quite active here this afternoon as well. Right back here in front of us with the full forward there, and that's Conor Russell playing it back, though they're walking backwards away from goals with Hartnett. That's Brian on that occasion. He's centre forward David Hanrahan. Now running at speed is Owen Cadigan, opening up a small bit for Cadigan, knocks one player out of the way, offloads by Cadigan. Good ball by him, found by the wing forward, and that was Shane Kingston, and that was a fine score. But it just, back to what you're saying, lads, if they go route one and...
No, but they got away with that.
Yeah.
Go on, Brian.
Like Shane never even looked, he just turned and kicked. But
yeah, I mean, look, what I was looking for there, what was the threat inside? And Powder was the only one who was inside the 20-metre line. So, you know, that's not what Nemo are going to be more than happy to play the game on that basis, that they're not getting challenged in the final third of the field.
Luke Connolly, who's caught the eye superbly, and what a ball by him into his corner forward, in as far as Conor Horgan. Great catch by him out to the other corner forward, Mark Cronin. Nice little ball in by him into the centre forward. Is it Kerrigan? And it's into the back of the net. What a goal by Kerrigan. He's second of the afternoon. He's second fist. But what a little pass in. And Kerrigan just tapped it past Boyle. And that surely is a game, set and match with only 2.5 minutes gone of the second half. 3-7 to 5 points.
Yeah, you could see that coming, but I think we'll see now the Nemo will just flood their defence and they'll play out 20 minutes, 30 minutes of...
Or will they continue to heap on the misery?
They'll play on the counter, I say, Colm. They'll play on the counter.
Barry O'Driscoll into Conor Horgan. Horgan is kicking it into one of the... look to be... Luke Conley, was it? That's gone down after being fouled, pushing the back, and it's going to be a free there for Nemo. But incredible interplay though for that goal. Great insight to pick out Kerrigan with a pass about 30 yards, and he was perfectly timed, perfectly placed to tap it past the goalkeeper.
Yeah, and nearly the highlight of it is Conor Horgan's catch over his head, and the ball was kicked in. It was beautiful. But you know, I think Douglas, obviously now the game is spent, really. Are
you surprised? Like, you look at that Douglas defence, Brian, there's a lot of inter-county players in that Douglas defence. Let's call a spade here. I'd be looking for more leadership. I actually think more responsibility should be taken on. You know, like, you have 4 Cork defenders there, and that at a senior inter-county semi-final level, for that goal, was it Paul Kerrigan finished it again? I mean, for that, you know, how many more times does that happen before you actually need to say to yourself, there's a systems breakdown or something is wrong here?
I think, Tony, that all of them are treading water, and I think the whole lot of them are basically playing it on their own. There doesn't seem to be a system of defence at the back there, and they're just under so much pressure. It's just they're treading water.
Incredibly, that free by Luke Conley was missed. He's driven that one wide. A bit of a let-off there, more than a let-off there for Douglas, but Nemo back with it. Conor Horgan across the field, Mark Cronin. Seems to be so many options available to the man in possession when it's Nemo. This time it's Kevin O'Donovan, despite falling to ground, manages to get back up to Stephen Cronin, fellow Cork panellist, working it back to Brian Murphy. His debut season, he was a star under 21 player, and wow, he lit up in the 2019 campaign, and he's now on the cusp of an appearance in a county senior final. But Nemo's production line continues to power through. There's Kerrigan back to the corner forward there. Mark Cronin brought to ground, unlucky not to get it free, and it's back with Sean Powter here, wearing number 10. Nice ball in by him to his wing forward, back to Hartnett, Brian Hartnett to Kingston. Kingston now putting the head down, going towards goal, being pulled and dragged, and surely a yellow, that's a card there anyway for Kevin O'Donovan, but what we'll see from the referee will be a yellow. Don't think he brought him down to ground as per the black card rule, but maybe that's what the lads were saying, that maybe it's got to a stage now with Douglas, if they get into the danger, just put the head down and go for it.
Yeah, but I think Nemo will do anything not to concede a goal. They just want, not even one goal they don't want to concede. And I think Kevin O'Donovan that time just said, all right, I'll just take the card, no problem. And they'll repeat this. They'll repeat this for the whole half.
There was an incident on Saturday night in the Ballyboden Nafina game as well, where in the last minute Declan O'Connell, the Ballyboden midfielder, pulled down a Nafina player. In that situation there again, a good score there from James Holland for Douglas. But in that, I don't know, Brian, what you think there again. Like, surely that cynical play is something that the black card was brought in for.
Yeah, but see, the black card by rule, you have to bring the man to the ground.
Yeah, but that's by the letter of the, you know.
Yeah, but I think all that will change, Tony. Hopefully, by the time the next Congress comes around, hopefully we'll see changes in that. Yeah. And actually, their moves are afoot to tidy up all this note-taking, black carding, yellow carding, red carding. It's an absolute mess at the moment, and I think the sooner the J actually sorted out, which I think is going to come, please God, sooner rather than later, it's going to be a good day for us.
And just on that, the potential for a sin bin coming in as opposed to we'll say the traditional black card departure can only be a good thing?
Absolutely, because I think in the National League this year, it's been proven when the player goes off for that sin bin period of 10 minutes, the opposition are scoring 2 points in return for the man gone off. Whereas you'd find with the black card rule, you know, if Kevin O'Donovan got a black card there, Nemo bring on somebody else just to replace him, and it's no difference.
Classy score there by Jack Horgan, the wing back. This instinctive yellow boots by him. Took a pass, gobble up about 30 yards, and easy as you like, put it over from the right far side. Luke McGrath of Douglas is now being replaced by number 17, Donncha Murphy, and a few moments ago David Hanrahan made way for Brian Lynch on the Douglas side. So going through the changes in a desperate attempt to try and rescue something. 37 odd minutes elapsed here, so we're coming up in about 10 minutes of the second half. Scoreboard, if you are a Nemo fan, is one that you will enjoy. It's Nemo Rangers 3 goals and 8 points, Douglas 6 points in this, the second semi-final of the Cork Senior Championship. Double header here in Páirc Uí Rinn this evening. The short kick out goes Douglas's way on this occasion from Brian Boyle, and out they come here with their full-back Nathan Walsh. Still Walsh looking for Brian Hartnett. Hartnett holding it up. Nice play by him to Shane Kingston. Still Kingston trying to get it onto his left hand side, gets it onto his left but doesn't manage to curl the ball in enough, and that one has gone wide, and Micheál A. Martin will take his time on the restart and eat up another 10, 12, 15 seconds or so before he gets play underway once more. This match being carried on our Facebook live stream. We've had comments and our thanks to people who are watching us around the world. We've had Brazil, Dubai, Australia. We've had a unnamed pharmaceutical plant in Cork watching us this afternoon. So keep those comments coming and keep your thoughts coming. We'd love to hear from you. wherever you are in the world, and this service has been brought to you with thanks to all associated with Cork GA, and it is a service which we enjoy bringing to you, and I'm sure that for expats around the country and around the world, hopefully they're enjoying every moment of watching not just their own clubs in action, but indeed their own county championships across the various grades in football and hurling. We're watching football this afternoon. It's a senior football championship semi-final, and you're watching Niall Hartnett of Douglas bursting to 3 or 4 tackles. Did so well there to offload to Jamie Holland. Out as far as Conor Russell, the full forward block, but managing to regain possession. He's got 1, 2, 3 Nemo players around him, and they concede the free, and that'll be about 21 yards out, and Jamie Holland looks like to be the man, or will it be Russell himself that will take this free in an effort to close the gap somewhat on Nemo Rangers, their great rivals. While all of that is going on, Shane Kingston getting his name into the book.
You see, Nemo are more than happy, Colin, at this stage just to traffic up that period, that space there between midfield and the 20-metre line. Nemo now will traffic that up all day. As you see there was 3 players hunting down the man in possession. Like, they smell blood. Look, at this stage, there's no point in, we don't have a silver bullet solution for you. Like, I mean, Douglas just have to try to keep doing the right things. But if they could at all, they've got to try to spread Nemo. So it means basically they've got to try to gamble almost. And as Brian was saying earlier, actually put them under pressure closer to goal. Actually put traffic in there, or put players in there, and actually, ask some questions. Because at the moment, Douglas are meeting them 35 yards from goal. They'll be happy to give away the occasional point. They'll be happy to run Shane Kingston down the right-hand side. They'll give away a point or two. But at the moment, it's 3-8 to 6 points, and Douglas, I'm afraid, aren't going to get back into this game with just points.
And that moment there really summing up their day. The free there from Conor Russell failed to get it off the ground properly. Only got it in as far as the waiting arms of James McDermott back on the goal line, and Nemo regaining possession. Even 2 Nemo players going up for the ball on that occasion, Kevin O'Donovan being one of them. He got yellow carded a few moments ago, by the way, with Shawnee Powter. O'Donovan has a man inside him, opts to pass it off as far as him, works back as far as Kerrigan off his right hand side. He looks to have gone wide, and that is another let off though there for Douglas after some excellent interplay once again by Nemo Rangers. Looking at the clock, 41 minutes gone in the semi-final here this afternoon, so about 12 minutes into the 12 minutes into the second half of the action here. Sub coming on there for Douglas. Looks like it's the full forward, Conor Russell, is making way, and he's been replaced by number 25, Shane McCarthy. And Tony, you mentioned here Shane McCarthy. What's he going to bring to the table?
Well, this is exactly just what we were talking about. I mean, Shane McCarthy actually did extremely well the day that Douglas beat UCC. They brought him on, and he actually really won a lot of ball. Exactly what we were talking about, Cullum. He'll give them a focal point in terms of something to feed off inside. Shane McCarthy is still a big, strong, powerful guy, and he's great hands. He will win ball for you. Now, he can score himself, but hopefully if guys are willing to gamble, he'll bring others into play. Brian?
Yeah, I think at this stage that's all Douglas can do, really, to be honest about it. I'd ask the question as well. If you look at any of the teams who've been successful against Nemo over the last 5-6 years, it's the man markers that actually do the business in terms of sticking man markers on their best players, frustrating them, closing them down, and then going toe-to-toe with their other players. But today, Douglas, looking at it again now, I would say the guys that designated at the start have been on 3 or 4 different players at this stage, and we're 42 minutes into the game.
Paul Kerrigan fouling the ball there, and it's a free out, and it's found its way as far as Shawnee Powter. Great speed by him. Powter kicking it in towards the man that we just mentioned a few moments ago, McCarthy, and punches it into the side netting, but just shows the threat that he has now at the edge of the square. And it'll be interesting, will this be something that, as the lad said, that Douglas, now that they have brought on Shane McCarthy, that they utilise him properly. Douglas so comfortable, or Nemo should I say, so comfortable in retaining their own kick out, working it through. Plenty of runners. One of those is Alan O'Donovan at midfield, giving it in as far as Luke Conley, back as far as James McDermott. Conley hitting the floor there after a late blow. We'll see will he be back up in a few moments' time. But Nemo happy to play on. They're not holding up Jack Horgan. Eventually, though, the referee is coming, obviously concerns when it's any bit of a head knock or anything like that, and Connolly took that blow, the accidental blow, in a collision with Owen Cadigan in the first half. Cadigan just standing 5 or 6 yards adrift, and it looks like it's Brian Hartnett who will be entering the referee's notebook for that bang on Connolly. And yes, indeed, it's a yellow card there, and that will be resuming with a hot ball, we presume, or a free to yeah, it's a free to Nemo, and it's in with Luke Connolly has returned to fitness remarkably. Stephen Cronin, and he's cornerback Brian Murphy. Murphy now 21 yards out. Murphy on the 14. Murphy with the shot, and Murphy pops it right over the crossbar, and that really is a touch of class by the cornerback, and just a mark then again of the interplay between Nemo Rangers. That score pushing them out to 396 points. 45 minutes elapsed here, so about 15 minutes gone in the second half. Brian Boyle getting us underway again. Pushing in the back, though, the free being awarded against Kevin Flahav, deemed to be holding on to James McDermott on that one, and it's going to be free there to Nemo, taken quickly by McDermott to Stephen Cronin, one of three Cronin brothers starting for Nemo. Alan, a cornerback, Stephen, of course, at centre, and Mark in the corner forward. The last time the men from Nemo had three brothers was the famous Kavanagh clan. Back in the day of huge success for the club. It's Niall Hartnett in midfield. His brother Brian coming to the rescue there. Okay. Dodgem trying to break his way through 2 or 3 players. Free being awarded, not being released, and an extra couple of yards being granted to make James Holland's task a little easier in front of the goals. He's right on the edge of the exclusion zone. 3-9 to 6. If he puts this over, it'll be 7 points in the Douglas account. Referee up, waiting on something else. Another substitution. A few medics coming in. Looks like Colin Tucker O'Brien in front of us is receiving some treatment as well. And substitution coming on actually for Nemo Rangers. And we'll wait and see. Is it O'Brien that is making way, carrying himself a little gingerly there, and it's 24. It's Ronan Dalton that's coming on. So Colin O'Brien making way, and Barry O'Driscoll, the full forward, making way, and Kieran Dalton wearing number 19 and 24. Ronan Dalton are the two men that are coming on. All that while Jamie Holland is on the edge of the exclusion zone, and we'll be hoping to narrow the gap off his left with this free, and it should be straight over the bar, and indeed it is, and that pushes it to 3-9 to 7 points with 47 minutes elapsed in this semi-final.
You'd have to think, Colin, it's going to be an awful long 13 minutes here now for Douglas. Nemo are going to score more. Douglas, even in this 17 minutes here in the second half, haven't really threatened, even looking like a goal. They haven't got the ball inside, I'd say, the rectangle or the square in terms of threatening a goal. So, they have a lot of possession, but they're really not making headway against Nemo, because, as Tony said a while ago, Nemo are just funneling bodies back. They're not going to get inside them.
Okay, chance in as far as Shane McCarthy came on a few moments ago, showing well for it. Out as far as Sam Collins. Getting the shot away in the end was Shane Kingston, and that one has gone right and gone wide. Just one of those days, it seems, from a Douglas perspective, and you could argue as well too, one of those days from a Nemo Rangers perspective, with 3 goals and nearly as many chances again of goals.
Yeah, you see, in fairness, we have spent a lot of time talking about Douglas deficiencies, but Nemo, I mean, look, we spoke here the night of the quarter-final, Brian, the night of the Bars game, and they overcame a different type of challenge that night, but they were able to overcome the challenge. I mean, today
you know, they were absolutely set. They just look sharper all over the field. I'm sorry that I keep repeating that point, but it shouldn't be as evident in a county semi-final. That's my point. I mean, look, there might be two divisions between these teams in county league terms, but Douglas are not a Division 3 team. In fact, they've been promoted back to 2 anyway next season. But it's just, it looks like Nemo been there, done that, worn the T-shirt, and are able to actually produce, you know, when it matters. Douglas are still finding, and look, you got to say one thing for Douglas. As I did say earlier, 10 of the players are under 24. Most of them, this is the first semi-final. So they will get better and they will benefit from this experience. But it is going to be, it's going to be a long winter, I would think.
Sam Collins making way for Brian Collins, who was on the original starting list. That's just been a change in the last few moments. And play continuing there. Luke Conley on the ball, taking another high tackle and being caught around the head, and a free being awarded just about 25 yards out in front of the goals. And you'd fancy any free taker worth his salt at this level to deliver. And we'll see, will Nemo push it out to 3:10 as we're coming up on 50 minutes of this championship semi-final here at Páirc Uí Rinn. Nice to see sun shining here at Páirc Uí Rinn for a change after a miserable couple of weekends of action here. The weather gods at least smiling down today. Mark Cronin, the man popping that one over the crossbar. Okay, we're coming in the last 10 minutes or so, and as the lad said, it's a last long 10 minutes if you're a Douglas fan here, because it just all seems to be going Nemo's way. Another free being awarded there. Paul Kerrigan is going to kick it in towards his corner forward into Conor Horgan. Horgan working it back, and nice interplay to Kerrigan again. Kerrigan off the right, it's going to zoom right over the crossbar. That is an absolutely outrageous score. Kerrigan can just turn that on just with the flick of a switch.
Look, he's a very, very, very good player. He's after scoring the 2-2 today, maybe. You know, he controls the game. He's experienced, but his biggest attribute, I suppose, is his pace. He hasn't lost that really, but he's a very, very, very intelligent footballer as well. And when he's hot, he's very, very, very good. And you know, he's been good today for Nemo.
Okay, well, Nemo certainly on boiling point so far this afternoon. Everything that Douglas have thrown at them, they've found an answer, and they've responded in kind. And there it goes again, pass going astray, hoovered up by Nemo. This time it's Luke Conley, who's gotten through an amount of work this afternoon, has taken a few heavy hits as well too in the course of the afternoon. Jack Horgan, another man that has shone, scoring that fine point there in the second half. Kevin O'Donovan, another member of the Cork panel. But Conley in particular mightn't have too many marks after his name in terms of scores this afternoon, but he's proved a very valuable linkman for them in the course of the afternoon. 24 is Ronan Dalton, came on there as one of the subs a few moments ago. That's him there now on the ball, looking around, looking for another sub. That's Kieran Dalton. And off come Nemo Rangers again, racing through. Too easy is the cry here from behind us, and it is when your wing back Kevin O'Donovan is allowed that much time, that much space to race through the heart of the defence. And I don't know if from our vantage point here, if our cameras will pick it up there. The fans already starting to leave the main stand here at Páirc Uí Rinn. The Douglas fans, they've seen enough as the scoreboard reads 3-12 to 7 points with 52 and a bit minutes elapsed here this afternoon.
I think when the satisfaction of this victory, Brian, subsides, and you know it'll probably subside fairly quickly for Nemo, let's face it, it mightn't even last Sunday night. You wonder, will the manager and his team actually say that really wasn't a whole lot of value to us in terms of a county semi-final? Do you think? I mean,
I'd look at it slightly different.
The game, the final is in a fortnight, isn't it? The final is in a
2
fortnight.
weeks' time, yeah. I look at it slightly different. I would see them progressing through the year. You know, a big performance against the Bars, a big performance here too, to be fair. Yeah. Setting themselves up for a county championship, a victory against Duhallow, which, you know, it's going to be a very tough game, but I think they're looking at it more longitudinally than just this one game. I think they're getting better as time is going on, and I think they'll have a lot of confidence going into this game against Duhallow, Tony.
Yeah, like Duhallow will, I mean, just looking, I didn't see the game today, and I know they weren't probably at their best, but Duhallow will present a lot more questions.
Yeah, different type of challenge in the fact that I think with them in around the middle with Duhallow, the two Walshes will offer them something different. They're very, very athletic and they're comfortable on the ball. And I think then Duhallow have 2 or 3 forwards who will score, and have been scoring for 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And if Donegal O'Connor can get fit for the final, I know he's 38 or 39, but he would cause the Nemo backline a lot of problems as well. Yeah. I just don't know, would Duhallow have some of the defenders to manage some of these Nemo boys? And that's the big question I'd have going into that game.
Well, we thought, or I certainly thought, that Douglas had the defenders today, but as I said, I don't think it's been a good, I don't think individually, Brian, or collectively it's been a good day at the office for Douglas defensively.
No.
The scoreboard tells that story indeed. Nemo Rangers 3 goals and 12 points, Douglas 7 points. Douglas trying desperately to add something in the final few moments. It's with their wing back there, Kevin Flahav, kind of, and back as far as Holland. And it's gone out for a 45. Jamie Holland getting the shot away. Kevin Flahav doing the hard work on that occasion there. But it's James Holland as opposed to Jamie. Apologies. And it's a 45. And we'll see, will he probably come out and kick it himself?
Just following up on Tony's point there. I would think when you look at the Douglas team on paper, absolutely you see very, very good players. But you mentioned the collective while ago. From a collective perspective, today, I think it was non-existent in terms of looking at units of the pitch or looking at units of defence or units of attack. I didn't see it. I think they're very, very good players, but today, certainly they were a bit disjointed.
One of the anxieties, Colm, I had for Douglas today, I mean, it's no secret, it's well advertised, is the fact that at the moment they are a little light up front in terms of what Brian is talking there, proven scorers. That's why you mention a Donegal O'Connor in the context of a county final, because he is a proven scorer. Now, I know he wouldn't have made a difference to the end result, but the likes of an Alan Cadigan, if Douglas had, and I met him outside actually the ground today, he had his knee in a full brace, so obviously he's still a long way away. It's going to be obviously, I'd say, next spring before you see Alan Cadigan back on the field with Cork. But even if you had an Alan Cadigan, Colm, he presents a different type of a challenge inside. I mean, better judges than me, I saw his movement particularly, he will always occupy defenders.
And he draws a lot of fouls as well, to be fair. And look, I think the other thing we'd have to mention is the fact, it's probably been known in the last 5 or 6 weeks that Douglas have had a chance to get this team together, because you have Cork senior hurlers, you have Cork senior footballers, you have Cork under 20 footballers and hurlers. So it is very, very difficult to get this group together, I would imagine.
Right off there, kind of a high ball from Conor Horgan, spilled there by the goalkeeper Brian Boyle, but thankfully managed to regain it. It was a great run by Kevin O'Donovan, which had led to the build-up play. In it, he'd raced down the wing, spread it across to Horgan on the far corner, and Horgan launched a bit of a Gary Owen. Boyle coming out, spilling it, but had the time, had the composure to regain possession and clear his lines. Free now here for Douglas as we're edging towards 57 minutes. It's Liam Deneen coming into play, Shane Kingston making way, and James Holland making way, and it's Liam Deneen coming on in, and 24 Andrew O'Connell. And there's been a change as well too on the Douglas team. Barry Cripps coming, or the Nemo team, excuse me, Barry Cripps coming in for Jack Horgan on that one there a few moments ago. 57.5 minutes gone. We'll wonder how much time the referee Johnny Ryan from Macroom will going to add on this afternoon. Douglas, David Sheehan, man wearing 30, started in place of Kevin Hayes Curtin this afternoon. He's the man holding the ball there. Another round of applause there coming in from the Nemo contingent on the far side as one of their warriors being replaced, and that man was cornerback Brian Murphy, and it's 17 Shane Martin is the man that's coming on in his place. Another young tyro there is young Brian Hartnett. He's getting it as far as Kevin Flahav, still Flahav, 21 yards out back as far as one of the Nemo substitutes, and that was Liam Deneen just on the field a few moments ago, and that finish wide, but a foul in the build-up play there, and the referee Johnny Ryan giving a free 21-yard free there to Douglas. Quickly taken shortly, but too quickly, too close together, not the requisite 10 plus yards, and as a result it's the ball has ended up back in Nemo. Another wasted opportunity there for Douglas. Just coming up on 59 minutes, and I think for his troubles, obviously something Shawnee Powter there said to the referee has got him into the book. If memory serves me, Shawnee picked up a yellow card earlier. He's picking up a black on this occasion, and he's going to make way there. So things going from bad to worse from a Douglas perspective. 3-12 to 7 points is the scoreline now as we edge towards the 60 minutes. It'll be interesting to see what sort of time the referee will add on, because there's been a whole host of substitutes in the course of the second half, and in particular well kept in play there by Aidan O'Reilly, but Douglas managing to recapture it there with Liam Deneen. That's it, second or third time he's gotten on the ball in the few minutes that he's on. Brian Collins wearing number 15. Back into Deneen. Deneen onto his left, didn't fancy the option, went back, first time ball, but well into the goalkeeper, and well taken by Micheál Martin. And Nemo opting, instead of kicking it long, they're just happy to punch their way out of trouble, and it's found it's all the way out by Paul Kerrigan, and off we go again down as far as Luke Conley. Great interplay by him in the course of the afternoon. And it's going to come right across the field here in front of us out as far as Kieran Dalton. Dalton back to centre back Stephen Cronin. Cronin has a man waiting inside patiently for it. That man is the corner forward Mark Cronin. 3 minutes of additional time being called by the officials here over the PA at Páirc Uí Rinn. They're going to be 3 long minutes from a Douglas perspective. I'm sure we're going to see Nemo keep ball for the next 90 seconds or thereabouts if they can. And it's Paul Kerrigan who's in possession. Still Kerrigan has a runner inside him. It's the full back Aidan O'Reilly. Back out as far as corner forward Conor Horgan. And they're slowly but surely squeezing the life out of it. Alan O'Donovan. Back to his midfield partner James McDermott from Roscommon. As far as Mark Cronin, the Cork Under-20 winner, has impressed so far this afternoon. He's had a couple of frees. A hugely testing afternoon from a free taking perspective. And right across the field there, and that was Cripps, who came on for Jack Horgan, finds Alan O'Donovan. And, just happy to go through the hands, and they'll take as long as they want with this. Nobody wants to be responsible for giving it away. Aidan O'Reilly to Kieran Dalton. Stretch right across the field here. Douglas can't lay a glove on them. Memories of that famous and controversial passage of play in the championship a few years ago with Douglas, or with Dublin, should I say, and the keep ball antics that they have. But there's a skill in that in itself. Stephen Cronin, still Cronin, taking it nice and short. Shane Martin now out with McDermott. McDermott back as far as Kieran Dalton. Still Dalton. Working it right across the field again, and it's all so easy now for Nemo. Just basically winding down the clock. 2 minutes of the 3 elapsed, and they're within 60 seconds. 60 seconds of reaching a county final. Finds its way to Conor Horgan. Bit of space opening up in front of him. Will he go for the shot? No, he won't. Nobody wants to be responsible to have that conversation in training on Tuesday night. You were the man that dropped that last pass, Luke Conley. As far as Cripps, Cronin, McDermott, Cronin again, Alan this is, back to his brother Stephen. And they managed to get Mark in on the equation. And after all of that, after the bones of 3 minutes of play, looked like a free awarded. Instead of slowing it down again, off we go again, winding it down. There we go. 3-12 to 7 points, the final score here in Páirc Uí Rinn this afternoon. That final few minutes of play really summed up golfing class, I suppose, would be fair to say, Brian.
You'd have to say in the end, yeah, an absolute golfing class. Like there was second half there was just played out. As soon as Nemo got that first goal from Paul in the second half, it was just curtains, game over, and it was just a damn scoop after that.
Okay. Now, in advance of this game, what the viewpoint was, this Douglas team, were they ever as well placed to take on Nemo?
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, look, yeah, it's a hugely disappointing afternoon for Douglas, and they'll be so annoyed with themselves everywhere around it. Look, you're trying to quarry out some kind of a positive from that if you're Douglas, Brian. And I guess the only, if you really want to stretch a point, it's the first semi-final in 11 years. As I did say earlier, Colm, I think 10 of that side are 24 or under. It is an experience. It's a good experience in one sense, even though it's a very bad experience today to get beaten by, 14 points or something. So, look, they're not going to enjoy the review of this. I can't imagine too many of the Douglas players will be sitting down tonight and watching this, or maybe they will. Maybe they will, but it was a bad, it was, look, apart from the first 10 minutes, I just think systematically they were off. I'm not actually certain what they were trying to achieve. Individually they were off. Defensively, I think myself, Brian, I mean, we signposted this after 5 or 10 minutes. I called what I thought were the actual matchups. Then they changed. I mean, if you're going to do anything against the Nemo forward line, and Brian, I think you mentioned it, you've got to get your matchup right. You're talking about very talented individuals who work very well as a unit, but if you are actually in a situation where you're winning your individual one-on-one, you are then obviously causing Nemo a problem. The thing that, from a Douglas point of view, if I could wear that hat for a minute, what just disappointed me today was they asked absolutely no questions of Nemo whatsoever. And that's the reason I said it to you, Brian, about what Paul O'Donovan takes from this. There was no question asked of any of his players. I mean, you think, even going right back to Micheál Martin, did Micheál Martin...
No,
I actually don't think he broke sweat all day.
No, but I think from Paul O'Donovan's perspective, Tony, he's coming away from this box tick, job done, team getting a bit better. We got no contest, that's not our fault. We did our business. In a way, he could be saying, we put Douglas back into their place, Now, I don't think they even think like that probably anymore, because they're always thinking of the bigger prize. And the bigger prize now for Nemo is Duhallow in 2 weeks' time, where I think, looking at today, I just think that their forwards in that vein of form could cause Duhallow backs a bit of problem.
Yeah, and the other point, of course, which I suppose merits mention, is the fact that means now that Nemo are back in the Munster Club Championship. They are the Cork representatives now. Obviously, Duhallow can't compete as their divisional side, and I do think putting Douglas in their place or trying to is an issue for Nemo, but then they will move on very quickly. They'll look at that, whether win or lose the county final. They will look at the Munster Club and the All-Ireland Club as something, whereas other clubs in Cork might actually look at winning a county and the Munster might be a bonus. It's all very much part of the package for Nemo. They will actually be looking at the county final, and the minute it's over, win or lose, they'll look potentially.
And I think that's where they're slightly different to the rest of us. If you're taking on the senior job in the club, winning a county is step one.
It's expected almost.
It's almost expected there. And I think winning Munster and getting to the Croke Park for the All-Ireland Club final and winning All-Ireland Club finals, that's what you're really judged on. And I think this team, for me, has been progressing nicely in the last couple of months. And I think I just feel that come 2 weeks' time, I think they're in a right chance of winning this. And as you make the point, Tony, they're going to be in the Munster Club Championship anyway. I think they're going to be... They'd give anyone a rattle in that as well.
Okay, just in terms of, and we've talked about the Douglas deficiencies, the box is ticked for Nemo. If you were Paul, what would you say? Yeah, I was very happy with X, Y and Z today.
I think he'd have to say that he's very happy that he didn't have to rely on the Luke Conleys, the Barry Driscolls. Now, Paul obviously scored 2-2 or whatever. Stephen Cronin, Alan Cronin, he didn't have to rely on all those guys. It was just a real workmanlike performance from a team. It was a team performance. It was structured, it was systematic, everybody knew what they were doing. They got on top of a kick out early on, they squeezed it, they punished when the opportunities came, they opened up Douglas when they wanted to, they ran a drag with the matchups. So all the stuff that he was probably planning coming into the game, the majority of that stuff came off, and plus the fact the scoreboard was 3-12, whatever it was, that's That's a fair score in football.
And importantly, lads, he got 60 minutes into his own young fella, Alan O'Donovan. I mean, Alan O'Donovan is a key asset. Even you saw there in the last 15 or 20 minutes, Colin, whether it was even dragging a fella down and messing with him afterwards, that's all part of the modern days midfielder in terms of a phrase I used earlier, which is keeping the opposition honest. And Alan O'Donovan is the most honest type of footballer you would meet. And Nemo need him. You know, with the best will in the world to Peter Morgan, you know, they need him around midfield, and he got a full 60 minutes there, so that's big value.
And as Brian pointed out, they're going to be facing a very interesting midfield, a very powerful physical midfield pairing in Paul and Aidan Walsh in a final.
Yeah, again, just looking at that final briefly, I mean, Brian mentioned the fact that like the Nemo forwards have Duhallow the backs to to actually manage them. You know, it's a reasonable ask. The one thing I would say about Duhallow, which is probably something you couldn't say at Douglas, well, two things actually Duhallow have that Douglas don't have. They have a bit of depth to their squad. They actually have like All-Ireland under-20 winners to bring off the bench, you know, and as well as that, they have scoring forwards. I think, was it Brian, you mentioned it earlier, like the likes of McSweeney's and the O'Connors and Dunica if he's fit. Like, you're talking about proven forwards who've been doing it, by the way. Like, you know, it mightn't just be Cork seniors. You have an awful lot of Cork juniors in that Duhallow attack. And just going back to today, you know, it's largely negatives. There's no point in me saying otherwise for Douglas. But the one thing Douglas knew coming in is they need to find scoring forwards. With the best will in the world, Douglas usually max out at 110, 111, and you're going to compete against a Nemo. We got 312 off them today. You're going to have to be scoring your 214s, that kind of stuff. At the moment, Douglas just don't have the forwards to do that. Whereas Duhallow, if they actually play well, and if the Walshes do well at midfield, they have the forwards who can make the scoreboard work.
Okay, that's where we're going to have to leave it today. My thanks to Brian Cuthbert, my thanks to Tony Lean, my thanks to Raf and Jack, who've been working hard on the technical side of things. Thanks to Dolan and the crew back inside at the office, and thanks to you as well too for watching our coverage this afternoon and indeed over the weekend. Our pleasure as always to be carrying these games here on the Irish Examiner Facebook account, and our thanks as always to the Cork County Board for their assistance in facilitating us, and indeed to all the staff here at Páirc Uí Rinn. That's where we're going to have to wrap it up. The questions that were posed, well, they've been answered. It's Duhallow and Nemo Rangers who will be contesting the Cork Senior Football Championship final. That's going to be in 2 weeks' time. I'm sure there'll be a lot of talk between now and then as to who will progress. That's where we leave our broadcast for this evening. Thank you for watching, and God bless.